just all right.
Oh,
I hate that.
this meeting is being recorded.
Recording in process.
That's really like, isn't it? It's like a fourth member of the thing. Everyone's going to go like, oh shit, let's stop talking.
So it's the fifth member of the band nobody wants to hear.
Yeah, it's the roadie at the back. Yeah. I like that we're a band. That's cool.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a good one.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, so we've started recording early, Steph, because we always pick up 9 times out of 10. It's outside of doing the podcast that we pick up those little snippets that are just either funny or entertaining. So
that's fine. You know me, I'll go with the flow. I've got no problems.
How are you doing anyway? Because we haven't seen
right.
Well, I've seen you recently, obviously.
Yes,
we had a good old chin wag for about 4 hours.
I know.
We need to talk about the World Childless Week website. Oh, but then there's this.
Yeah, I think it was like literally crammed into the last 50 minutes to half an hour, wasn't it? The rest of it was yabba, as usual.
Because I actually forgot. And you reminded me, that thing, the website. Yeah.
It's good though. Putting the world to rights as we usually do. Pretend, whatever.
Yeah, you and me, all of us, if we ruled the world, God, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Anyway.
Too good.
Oh dear. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So the first thing we need to do is a banging on the desk and a kind of like an applausey type thing, which is like a Can anyone hear that? Can you hear that? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, because celebrations are needed. Clan of Brothers, Michael. Go for it.
Yeah.
So the Clan of Brothers, we have 100 members.
Ooh.
We've done that in less than a year, and with no, and that's organically because we've had no advertising campaign or anything like that. So, really good. It's it's been guys are like, don't talk much, so it's been a bit of a slow burn, but I'm taking a leaf out of Steph's book with her group, and we've expanded our admin group now, because one of the things that Andy and I are finding is that your energy wanes and rises and what's the word I'm looking for? God Almighty.
Ebbs and flows.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Right.
Words. So it ebbs and flows. So it's good to spread it across a few people, and it's also good to inject a little bit more of a bit more energy. Other people have got other ideas, So it's really good, really good. So we've got another video on our YouTube channel too. So that's a really good chat about legacies and how us blokes sort of. We didn't actually really come to any conclusions, but we had a deep dive and looked at all different ways. So really good chat.
Oh, congratulations, that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
That's really good. A really good testimonial to the work that you do, and it's needed, absolutely needed. So well done. That's fantastic.
Well, most of the feedback we get is most of the guys, just validating how they feel, and sometimes that's enough. For some guys, they don't need any more than that. They just need to. Okay, other people feel the way I do. Cool. I feel all right now. Of course, others don't. But
Yeah, ebbs and flows. I think that's a really good phrase, isn't it? How we often feel about all of our feelings as well. Yeah. Of course, the other minor applause is I'm back. Hi, everyone. I want to switch off now. You had a month without me, and I'm back, and just needed a break. Everything got a little bit on top of me, and I just need a little bit of a break just from everything, and just go and stand on the beach and stare at the sea, and then come back again, and that's been okay. But yeah, life ebbs and flows. I think I want to just be open about the fact that I had just needed a bit of a break, because I think that reflects a lot of people as well feel like that. I think at the moment with everything. So yeah, but I'm back.
Well,
You did fine without me. Last month's episode was fantastic. If you haven't listened to it, full stop listeners, and go and listen to last month's. It's fantastic. All about mental health, and with Chrissy, it was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed listening to it when I was putting the newsletter together and things. I really, really loved it. So brilliant. Well done.
oh, well, it's good to have you back. We were missed.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
If only for the odd word here and there with ebbs and flows, useful things. And of course, the other bit of celebration is World Childless Week is 5 years old. And so Steph is here. Steph!
Hello.
Founder of World Childless Week, and generally very, very busy right now. So we're really pleased that you spared some time for us. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to have you here, Steph. Really
Yeah.
is. Really,
No,
really good to see you.
Really appreciate you having me.
Just
on.
wish I could give you a big hug.
Oh yes, those days when those days come back. Oh my goodness me. We're just gonna be meeting and greeting and hugging, and it's gonna be so good. So good. But can you believe, yeah, like you say, 5 years, it's like, oh heck. I can't believe it started and now it's 5 years later. Wow. It's a shocker for me. I don't know anybody else, but it's a complete and utter shocker for me. Positive shocker, but definitely, yeah, an amazing achievement, I think, for all of us to get to that 5 years.
It's incredible. And there was quite a lot of changes. I don't know if you want to talk about those. We're going to let you riff about World Childless Week, however you want to sort of go with this. But obviously, if people are looking at the website, then there's quite a few changes in terms of the involvement and this new ambassadors. Do you want to just explain to the listeners a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, like you say, we started off with champions because everybody is a champion in our community. But the people who are supporting World Childless Week, who are really there for me to lean on and go, oh heck, just being a Libra, and I get stuck sometimes between a left and a right choice. And it's good to have you lot around me to sort of say, go left or fear right, or stay in the middle and carry on doing what you're doing. And ambassadors are there to just really help me, but also they're the people that have their own communities, their own work to do. So they're already amazing people doing so much work for our community. And then they've actually decided to help me to dedicate some of their time to World Childless Week, which is a double impressive effort from their side, really appreciated from my side. And it's really recognising what they do, that I'm not on my own, that they are part of the team, that they really help to push in submissions and just let people know World Childless Week is out there and that it's for everybody in our sort of circumstances, in our family. That it doesn't matter who you are, you can be part of World Childless Week, because that's how I see World Childless. I see it as a central hub with lots of little sort of wings going out for everything and anything. So if people go there, they can find a support group, they can find a counsellor or a therapist, or they might find somebody who does art or singing, or somebody who sells cards. I just think if we're all supporting each other in what we do, we can get stronger and bigger. Whereas if I just come on and go, these are the support groups that I run on Facebook, I'm not being fair to anybody else. So I tend not to sort of mention mine, because I mean, we're all doing work in some way and we all need to recognise and celebrate what each other's doing. And that's what I think the ambassadors help to do, and to really strengthen that sort of idea. Well, that's what I hope anyway.
It's an honour, a huge honour to do that, because there is a weight of responsibility, I think, in that that role. Being accountable, if you like, but also I think just being that diversity. What's interesting about the ambassadors, when I look at who you have and who's been there in the past as a champion, is that diversity. You know, you've got people from all over the world, you've got people doing different things, people that have come into the space and the community through different routes. There's almost sort of somebody there who can represent most different situations, I think, that we may find ourselves in. And while we're in this space, there's always something relatable. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a relatable connection within the ambassadors.
Yeah, and I want to say at that point, actually, to say thank you to the people who were champions before, because it's not a case of me going, oh, go away, I don't want you anymore. It's a case of people respecting what they're doing and knowing that their personal life or their community of childlessness or whatever it is that they're dealing with, they've got to get the balance right for them. Because again, like you said, Bernice, you took that month off, and we all have to take that time away sometimes to reevaluate or to focus somewhere else, even on ourselves. And I've been a bit of a buggering away and pushing people to sort of make a harder commitment this year to World Childless Week. And that's so it's, you know, a really big thing of gratitude and thank you to everybody who's been with me from the day one. And if they're not there now, it's not that they've stepped down, they've just stepped away a little bit, but they're still within our community doing their own thing. And I think it's really important to say that they're still there and they're still champions. But for some of you, you're now ambassadors. But saying that, we're going to introduce, I know I mentioned earlier to you in a meeting about bringing in the people's champions. Because I think it's really important to recognise the people who are. Because there's so many people out there that we can't get everybody in as ambassador. There'd be no room left for World Childless Week if we just had Pages and Pages ambassador, which we could easily do because it was so wonderful. But we've got to limit it. So the way to do it now is to each year have these champions that we recognise and say, we see you. You might be shouting out big time, or you might be whispering to just a few people, but you're making a difference for someone, and that difference is important. So I'm really excited that we can do that each year, and those people can change, and we can recognise more people every year. That World Childless Week carries on. Maybe a few more yet, but yeah, so you know, there's lots of scope for people to be seen, and that's, I think, the biggest thing.
That's a great idea. Feedback I've had from some people going, I love this, I love this. So well done, Steph. It's a great initiative.
Thank you. Yeah, it has all been positive response, and quite a lot of nominations have come in, so we've got a bit of a task of reading through them all and sorting out who we want to think, or not who we want to think, but who we think is represented by somebody's words as being incredibly important to their life, and choosing that person as the people's champion.
Oh, that's great to hear. We've
Really
had lots
great.
of nominations.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Just more work for us. But it's positive work.
It's really, really good. So by the time I think we release this, that will have gone. So that deadline to nominate the People's Champion will have gone by the time this is recorded. But there is quite a lot of things that people can do. So the themes for World Childless Week this year, do you want to talk about what the daily themes are, Steph, and what's going on around those?
Yeah, sure. We start every year with our stories. It's an important day because it's the day whenever I do any surveys or anything else, people come back and go, that's the most valuable day to them. They love to hear other people's stories, the good and the bad, because it's where we reflect and see ourselves in different situations, where we connect to other people and think, we're not alone. We wish we were alone. We wish nobody else was suffering the same pain as us, but we're not alone. And being able to express that yourself with your name or anonymously, which I think is incredibly important, it gives people the freedom to say exactly how they feel without worrying about repercussions or judgment, and just knowing they've got that safe space to actually say, this is my story and this is what I want to share about it. So incredibly important day. Tuesday is a bit of a hot topic because we've got childlessness and sexual intimacy. I put this forward as one of the days for this year because I see what's going on in the groups in our community, and it started to suddenly come up in several groups last year, at the end of last year, and it's carried on through. And I thought, if people are talking about it, we need to talk about it, we need to pick it up, because it's not just the fact that you might have tried to conceive, it might be the fact you haven't tried to conceive, it might be the fact you've never met a partner. But intimacy could be an issue that's in the back of your head, or it could be in the forefront of your mind. So actually covering that and finding people who are brave enough to speak about it, I think is really important to actually have that aspect of it. Wednesday, we're sort of carrying on from last year when we did Aging Without Children, and we're doing Leaving a Legacy, because again, it's one of those hot topics that comes up and is talked about again and again and again, because we automatically assume, for the majority of us, that legacy is about blood, it's about children, it's about grandchildren. And if we haven't got that heritage, that line of people following afterwards, we think, well, what happens to our legacy? So it's talking about the different aspects of legacy, how we feel about it, how perhaps we could look at it differently, and perhaps there's a way of doing legacies different. Thursday, oh, what's Thursday? Let me think. Oh yeah, it's that regular day, Men Met At 2. One of those days we've got to have, because we can hardly ignore you men out there. It's important that they get their voice. I'd love it if men spoke throughout the 7 days of the week, and they're more than welcome to do submissions for any day. But because men in general are the quieter voice, it's important to give them a day where they can talk about anything and everything and not be restricted. It's really important to see them there and visual for me to learn from men and their opinions. And I think for the same for others, it's to get a balance as well. Friday, the comments that hurt, we're focusing on, again, a really big topic that was briefly explored in the very first World Childless Week, which is somebody coming up to you and saying, have you considered adoption? And we all sit there and we all eye roll, bite, talk between bitten teeth or clenched teeth and think, okay, how do I answer it? How do I feel today? Who's asking me? Who's surrounding me? And you give an answer, but the answer you give verbally might not be the answer that's actually rolling around inside your head. So it's given us the expression to explain why we think that comment might be hurtful, how it makes us feel, what we'd really like to say, and how perhaps we can tackle it going forwards, and how we'd like the world to change in the way they sort of perceive that question and think it's okay, because for many of us, it's not. Saturday, we're back to the end of the week and it gets a little bit more positive. We are worthy. We are worthy to celebrate everything about us that is unique, that is wonderful, that is challenging, everything about us, but also, again, it's what I chatted to Berenice about earlier in the year and saying about we're worthy to actually be seen and to be heard. And I think that's something we need to bring into that day more and sort of say, hang on a minute, we're not included in this, but we should be, and this is why we should be. And to start doing those challenges to push our presence out there, not to overtake, not to diminish anybody else, but just to be seen. We just want to be seen. We just want to be heard because we are worthy of that. And then the final day, moving forwards. And again, it's a reminder that moving forwards isn't a major step, isn't a major plan. It can be something simple as knowing that you can get out of bed every day and have a bath. But it's celebrating those little steps that make us move forward alongside the big ones and saying, yeah, I can reflect on this time last year and feel I've done something that's moved forward. I might have a nick up next week and feel I've stepped back again. But I always say it's like a dance where we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because slowly but surely we're all moving forward. So hopefully the week's got something there for everybody to be interested in. And the good thing is you can dip in and out, pick and choose what you want to read it over the week, read it over a year, because it's always remaining there for people. So I hope people send in submissions. I hope by the time this goes out, I'm going, yes, we've got a lovely full week of submissions. But at the moment I'm going, please send your submissions in. It's a nail biting time.
Well, it's are they a few and far between at the moment, Steph?
What submissions?
And I can edit this out. That's all right. We won't.
That's all right.
We'll keep it positive, but
If they're coming in, but it's only dribbles at the moment, but it always is
Okay.
like that. It starts off in a dribble, and then hopefully in the next few weeks, when I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got less weeks to get this organised, or something go, boom. But it is now, it's always the same every year, nail biting moment.
Okay, all right. No, because
push,
yeah, we
push,
could.
push.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that World Childless Week has now been I don't want to say advertised, but in where I work for Australia's largest construction materials company, and I had the opportunity to push it in a post on a women's group, because we have a very, very big proportion of women in our organisation, which is great. And there is a specific women's group, they are women that inspire each other in engineering. And I was invited to write about World Childless Week and about myself. So we've been pushing it in Australia's largest construction materials company. Brilliant. And I've had lots of private feedback, actually. So it's been quite an interesting activity.
Oh, thank you for doing that. But I think it proves that we just don't know who's listening to what we say.
Exactly.
We never know, and it only takes one person to know and relate, and that that you've made a difference to, and that one person, that's worth it. You've made a difference.
Exactly.
In fact, that's part of your legacy. This is what I say from now on. Everything you do that has a positive effect on someone else is part of your living legacy.
Yep.
We change one person's life, then that's good. What more do we really need to do in this world?
That's right. If we've all push in that direction, then imagine the good that can come out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
No, most definitely. And World Childless Week does that in spades.
We all do. We all do it. We're all together doing it. Like I said, I might have chucked it all together, but it's the submissions that really create that wave of
that's very true. But at the same time, you needed that person to go, hang on, we need this. Hang on, we need, we need this. So you're right. It's a hub. It brings everyone together. And when you look at I've been there since, well, both Berenice and I've been there since day one. You look at where it all comes from. We think about the story you told. Excuse me.
Don't you dare get me going. You know what I'm like for crying.
I know. I'm trying to hold it back. But that story you told about the woman in Africa in her, it was a couple of World Childless weeks ago, the woman in Africa that, would you like to, do you remember that story? Would you like to say that? Because that was powerful shit. All stuff. Sorry. Whoops.
Yeah, no, it's the same because it automatically gets me emotional. So I have to do it right. Okay. Clear the throat, get on with it. But yeah, somebody contacted me privately by email to say that she was incredibly grateful for World Childless Week and that what she was doing, she lived in Africa in a very remote spot. And she was telling me that the women there who didn't have children were considered to be witches. So she'd actually started a sort of a group or a reach out to other women who were childless within her village and other local villages. They could come together and support each other because they were seen as outcasts. It was automatically seen that the women were the ones who were guilty for not bringing children into the family. So much so that they were actually told as witches they didn't have children because they'd eaten their children before they could be born. So she's doing an amazing thing by standing up and saying, I'm not a witch. I'm a human being who deserves to be respected. I'm worthy of love for who I am. And connecting those other women together. And I've never heard from her since, but that email just went, straight to my heart, because it just shows there's so much work to be done. So much. Yeah.
But it's a great example of the reach of World Childless Week. It's just, I can't say enough about that particular story. Just the story in itself tells it.
Yeah, it does. And the sad thing is that we know there's people out there going through similar, and they haven't heard that they're worthy from us yet. They haven't heard there's a place for them. And knowing that so many women are just automatically assumed to be the reason, the negative reason, the bad reason for why there's not a child in the family, and taking the blame, having family just disown them, put them aside like they're nothing. So we've got to keep reaching out because it does need to be changed. We need, to let these people have their stories shared, to make sure they're heard, to make sure they're recognised, and that things do change. It's got to be changed. And it might not be this year, next year, or the next 10 years. But if we don't start speaking out now, then it may never change.
Well, I think we're off to a good start here.
Serious note, that was.
It's that kind of irony, isn't it? That actually what we're doing, every contributor, however big, however small, to World Childless Week or to any one number of the incredible and amazing initiatives that are going on now. It's amazing to see every year, every month, I think we hear about something new happening. But actually the irony is that we're doing this in order to make it easier for people out there who are parents, whose children may be involuntarily childless. This is a legacy almost for them, to make the next generation better, because we don't have that next generation, they do. Therefore that engagement, it matters so very, very much. Because if it doesn't affect them, then chances are they know somebody, even if that person hasn't spoken or that event yet hasn't happened. But it could do it. It's changing the future. Definitely. And future attitudes. It's a weird irony, that, isn't it? It's a bit strange. I never quite get my head around that.
But no, I agree. It's the fact that we need to change the way we start treating children and talking to children about being parents. because we're all put in that situation of girls. I think it's slowly opening up the borders that girls now can wear boys' clothes and boys can wear girls, and you know, there's much more gender fluidity with toys and clothes and things like that. But it also needs to be the fact that not to stereotypical somebody into you will be a parent, you will be, you know, you'll be a mother, you will be a father, because there needs to be, from that young age of acceptance, not to force it onto children. And then the education in schools that, you know, you have the choice not to have children if you don't want to. You can be child free. And then with the sex education, it's not just about infertility, it's about those who don't meet somebody have to have a part, you know, as a partner, that, you know, you might not have children. And the education, like you say, through the school years, but literally from being a toddler and starting to learn the things of picking up dolls and assuming you'll be a mum, or being sort of almost, it's an outside influence that we need to change, and we won't be there to do it. So we need to build bridges with parents and try and get some understanding and empathy. And it's not an easy thing to do, because it's respecting their wants and their wishes, but knowing sometimes they don't always come true. And accepting that, you know, as a child, we've got to make it a wider situation and say that every situation can be happy for you, that you can have a fulfilling life, whether it turns out with the plan you wanted or not. Yeah.
It's going far, far bigger then than you probably envisaged when you first started, isn't it? It sounds to me.
I guess so, but I think that is the one thing about childlessness, there's no boundaries. There's so many different aspects of it, and there are positives. And I think it's always important to stress that we can be happy again, because so many people that begin journey think we'll never have a day where they wake up and smile. And yes, we can yo-yo back and forward in our grief, but there can be happiness. But it's because there's so much societal pressure on us, we then have our own added pressure as well, and it just builds. And we need to try and limit that. And if we can do that through parents, in the way children are brought up, and through education in schools, we have a better understanding that when we hit our 20s or 30s or 40s and we're trying for a family, it doesn't happen. Okay, we knew this might have been the case. We knew there was a chance it might happen. And we know it's not the ending. We know there is support out there. We know there's help out there, which, like you say, we know it's there. But in the wider scope of things, if you go to the doctors or to a health clinic, you don't really get offered support for childlessness. It's very few and rare between, you know, there's very few people who actually go, yes, did you know about this? Did you know about that? So it's getting us out into the mainstream. And as I say, once we get there, it's going to reduce the pain and the grief. It's not going to say that we're not going to have grief and it's not going to be deep and hard, but we know that we can reach out from that beginning day rather than hiding it, which so many of us do. So yeah, it's a long way back and there's lots we can do, but it's doing it together bit by bit.
It's that breadth, I think, as well, isn't it? The diversity of all of the things that you've covered. So last year with childlessness and the arts and the themes that you had there, and just the incredible amount of creativity and amazing. Just the way that people think about living this life unexpected and how they translate that into different media and different outcomes, and the language that's used as well is quite incredible. There's always something different to uncover, isn't there?
Yeah, I love seeing the art side of people, that the creative side, and saying you don't have to just put a pen to paper. It might be a brush to canvas, it might be using your voice, it might be through dance. And I think every single medium that we've got explores it in a different way. And we all relate to different aspects of it as well. So sometimes you might read something and go, yeah, I like reading, that's quite sad. But then you can hear that as a song, the same words, and it'll go, and it'll hit you in your heart in a different way and give you a different meaning and understanding as well. So yeah, diversity is wonderful.
You've brought back I Am Me, haven't you? Let's talk about that, because I think some decent little segue there. That was quite good.
Oh gosh, I Am Me. Oh, I Am Me just makes me smile. I Am Me just excites me. When we did it in 2018, I thought, well, maybe a few people will send in their photos. Because the idea is you send in a photo, you can have your face on it, you can have your back on it, you could just be holding up a piece of paper. That's a good thing. You don't even have to show your face. But on that, you're writing, I am this, I am that, I am whatever I want to be, basically describing yourself with positive, real wonderful affirmations. It could be of who you are in relation to somebody else. You could be a wife, you could be an aunt, you could be a sister. But you could also be loving, smart, creative, adventurous, stubborn, stupid, sassy. You can be whatever you want to be, because the whole point is we're not just saying I am childless. I am so much more, so many wonderful things more. So it's taking a picture or holding up a piece of paper with I am this and I am that. And it really is a gallery of inspiration when I look at it. So bringing it back this year, I just felt it was a must, because so many people have said to me, when is it coming back? This year, let's celebrate again.
It's amazing. If you look on on World Childless Week, you can see some of the photos on your social media feed, and there's actually one, I've done one on the full stop as well. So the ambassadors have got access to the branding. I'll probably just note this as well, actually, that we've got access to the branding and all of the logos and things like that. But actually what you're asking is that people who aren't ambassadors can just do it themselves. They don't have to include any branding. They just literally, you can get a piece of paper and write on it. But you're not doing that. You're not actually putting the I am me's together. You're asking people to send in a finished I am me in whatever form people want to use, whether it's their dog or their cat and them in a photograph, but with the wording applied. That's what you're asking, just for clarification, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I was going to say, it's all on the website. If you go into the events page, it explains it as hopefully as simple as I can make it for everybody to understand. And again, there's a link there to the previous year so people see what other people have done, so they can actually take inspiration of that. And you're saying about cats and dogs, there were chickens in 2018, and this year coming up, there's a tiger, a white tiger in one of the photos. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I saw the photo and I was just like, wow, that's got an amazing story behind it. So yeah, watch this space. You won't see it yet. But I love it. I love, that's what I'm saying, the diversity of the photos is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That reminds me, I've got to get my arse into gear and do mine as well.
You have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sarah, you don't get away with this. You need to do one as well.
I was going to say, I did one I remember in 2018. I think that was the first year I submitted anything to World Childless Week. And I remember doing the I am me. And actually, it was a really useful way of thinking about yourself differently, because I think we're guilty of going, I'm not a mum, and beating yourself around the head with it, aren't you? And then you go, actually, I am a bit more than that. I'm this, I'm that. I can't remember what I put on it. I think I put I'm an aunt, I'm funny, and all that sort of stuff. And it had a picture of me in the pub, surprisingly. But yeah, I think I'm so pleased it's come back, because it's so easy to engage with, isn't it? And start thinking differently about yourself.
Really simple little mind switch, isn't it? I know I did mine under the tree in the garden with the dog, and I had to kind of coerce the dog into sitting there. And I just wrote loads of things down, like, you know, I drink beer, I do this, I do that. Actually, it'd be interesting, I don't know about you, Sarah, but to go back to the one that you did then, you can find it, write it out again and see what you think and how you've changed since the first time you did the I am me, because I think we've all probably changed.
I love that. Yes, I will.
I know I did when I did one with all the logo and stuff this year, so I haven't done on like a hand drawn one, but I might well do another hand drawn one, because there's a bit more space to write. And I just wonder if people who were doing it last time and do it this year might have different words and different reflections, and how that defines them now. Be curious.
So.
That would be an
Definitely.
interesting one.
I think that's true, because I did mine. It was only when I went back to look at the earlier one, I put I am fun on both of them, and it was like, oh, I put the same words. Do you know what I mean? And I was surprised, because you don't remember what you've done, but it's interesting to do a new one before you look back at the old one, so it doesn't actually sort of lay in the back of your subconscious. Choose your words and then see. But yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if people have actually submitted all through the years. I mean, that must be one of those interesting things. And do you get any stories like that where people have come back to you and said, well, I submitted in the very first World Childless Week, and this is one I've done now, and it's changed me? Do you get any feedback to say if it's made a difference to people?
Yeah, because the one thing I noticed a lot of is people will be like sending a submission, make me anonymous, whatever you do, make me anonymous, don't have anything there to recognise me. And then they're like, you know what, I want to put my name on it this year. And I'm like, okay, are you sure? And it'll go back and forward with a few emails. Yes, I'm sure. What name do you want? it'd be my full name, and then it might come back to actually no, just my last name. No, it might just be my first name, and then in the end it's like, hell no, put my full name on it, I'm doing it, I'm going there. But in the same retrospect, somebody might say, I had my full name on it last year, I'm in a bit of a down place at the moment, I'm not sure if I can do it or if it can even send a submission. I'm like, fine, there's no pressure. You know, you've not ticked a box to say that you'll send a submission every year. And it's not to say you're sending a happy submission every year because you did one last year. You've got to go up and down, like you say, ebbs and flows again, it comes into it. You've got to do what's right for you this year. Either do a submission, don't do a submission. That's not for me to push or say. But it is wonderful when people say they use the year now. In the survey that I've had out to sort of say, have you noticed that you've moved on since last year's World Childless Week? And the percentage of a lot of people have said, yes, they have. And people have said to me they use it as a marker each year to feel if they have moved forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely good positive feedback from doing it.
It's almost like a platform, I think, really. World Childless Week, it's like the diving board, if you like. People can go in and they can do, you know, start at the bottom, dive in very gently, and you know they've done that bit, and then you can progress to like higher diving boards, or actually just go out and do other things. You know, I think, you know, if I would say we're graduates, but you know, people that can, you know, involve themselves in World Childless Week, they're the kind of the stories that we love on the podcast as well, because often from World Childless Week greater things come as well. You know, I think it's probably fair to say that without doing some of the bits for World Childless Week when I first started, then I wouldn't be here doing the podcast, and I wouldn't have met Michael, I would not have met Sarah. I don't think the podcast would have happened without that drive, I think, and seeing that there was that gap which was created really and filled and very much by World Childless Week and by the work you do. It gives people that confidence to kind of, you know, break out a little bit. I think I always use my name when I've done something for World Childless Week. Well, it's on the website, you know, it's there. We're both there, aren't we, really? But actually, it's, you know, then you can start to write things and record things, and we've done some recordings in the past, and you know, the whole ebbs and flows over the years, but doing stuff, and then you start to get the confidence perhaps to do a video, you know, to go and put yourself on stage somewhere and those sorts of things. It starts to then sort of progress a little bit and people's confidence grows. That's a really lovely thing.
Yeah. One of the things I think people as well say is like, oh, I've liked something, because even to put a like on something can be hard, because especially on Facebook, you know that families and friends might see that you've made a like or a comment on a page that is about childlessness, and that's a tough step to take. Which is why I know that the amount of people who like posts is not reflected in the amount of people who like the page. There's a lot more people who, well, you know what I mean, who are there liking posts now and again than the people who follow it, because they don't want to follow the page because it's that step too far. But then they do one day. Or the big step for a lot of people is nothing majorly put, but just sharing a post onto their own timeline from World Childless Week. It takes a lot of courage. And it might not be their own words, but sharing a post and going, oh, I've done it, nobody's responded. And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes, as I said, you only need one person to sit there silently looking at your post and going, thank you.
Yeah, people often don't. I think you know, I find that, and I've noticed it lately with actually with LinkedIn. So I tend to sometimes, no, actually that's a lie. I join up sometimes my story. So obviously I'm promoting my business. That's important. I use it for that in a very gentle way, storytelling way. I don't go on there and sort of, you know, buy from me now. But I will introduce some of that story. So last weekend, I actually shared something about Louise Brown's birthday. So Louise Brown was the first IVF baby, and put a little bit on there about, you know, IVF still having a failure rate, and we need to talk more about these things. Along to this celebration is this other story. And it was interesting to compare that and the statistics and the feedback of that to other posts that other people have put and posts that I've put about general mental health. And they always get more views. Well, not more views, actually, not more views, but more likes, more comments, because it's more accessible. People know a little bit more what to say. If you think about how mental health has only really started to sort of take a bit of a front step, I think, in the past few years. You know, we've got people talking about it in terms of relation to football, in terms of sport, in terms of obviously the Olympics, and in terms of Wimbledon. and that mental health is a thing. And of course, the pandemic has hit all of our mental health. So that's a big step forward, but not actually that big a step, but it is a big step because it's just like a thing that people need to talk about now. I think childlessness and that grief, people don't tend to know what to say. It's not that they're being cruel, they just don't know the words, and they may find the words in time, but it means that if people are viewing it, looking at it, they're reading it, they are taking that in. I've learned from myself from being despondent and angry and sad and feeling a bit like, oh God, I posted this thing, and it took a lot of courage for me to do that, but no one's actually acknowledged that on my timeline, whatever platform that might be, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere like that. But actually people do, just they sometimes don't know what to say, or it might be a shock to them and they don't know, and they maybe need to go away and have a look. And that's again where World Childless Week can come in, because you've got all of the resources there for people to look. So people can, you know, families and friends who may be parents or child free by choice can actually go off and explore a little bit more too. You've got a platform for people to go out and, as you say, go out with those wings and find other things and other support. So it's, yeah, I would just encourage people not to be despondent if there isn't that feedback. Don't worry about that. You know, that don't take away your, you know, your courage is still a valid thing, and it's still incredibly brilliant. And the acknowledgement, I think, as well, to actually click on something is almost acknowledging, okay, I'm part of this in a way. And that's a really, really big step too. I think amazing that people can do that. It's incredible.
Definitely. No, I totally agree with what you're saying, that we don't know how many people have seen the post, and we don't know how they're going to react, because it is a shock if you're suddenly telling people that you're childless and it hurts, and people didn't know, and they're like, oh heck, how do we react to that? We don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. We can't like it because we don't like that you're feeling like that. We can't love that you're feeling like that. Is it care emotion enough, or is it putting, do you know what I mean? So yeah, people back away from interacting, and it's just remembering that if you've took the courage to post it, just take, you know, what you can from that, because it's a big step and a big move. And
social media is so clunky. It's like LinkedIn has love and celebrate. There's support now, that's okay, I suppose, but it is ever so clunky, and you know, and yeah, social media generally, I think, can be very clunky for those things. It's a great way to raise awareness, but I think that there's tones and inflections. It's that thing that we always sometimes, I think we've all experienced it in some form, where people would text us something and then we kind of like over catastrophize an Olympics in that, and go, oh my God, they said something that they shouldn't have said or whatever. And take a moment and pause and think, okay, it's text, it's written words. That inflection is, it doesn't matter how many emojis you put in, and I don't care how many emojis people put into things, sometimes that isn't there, and it's not always the appropriate way to respond to things, and people do get a bit clunky, and maybe they also have a period of reflection themselves, because if they weren't aware that that was a thing that you were going through, a grief that you were going through and still will continue to go through, then they may be thinking, well, oh my God, I said so and so, or I did that, or I did that. So from the other side, people can be reflecting and thinking, was I misappropriate in some way and I didn't know? I think there's an element of that too.
Part of that feedback I got from the post I put in the company I work for was a woman who's a mother actually said, look, you know, it's a difficult thing. I don't know what to say. And I think that, you know, it's an important story to tell, because, you know, for our community and for those who are, you know, deep in their grief, or like you say, they're feeling people don't engage. You know, it's not a place of malice that it comes from. It's a place of, I don't know. So my feedback back to this woman was that, you know, that if you come across someone at your workplace, that you could shut her down by perhaps not talking about it. Because if she offers you that, I am childless, she's offering you this to talk about. And if you change the subject, you know, because it's too uncomfortable, then you've shut her down. So childless people just want to be heard and understood. So, and she asked what would be a good, way to start it. So, well, just say, I don't know what to say, but please help me understand.
It is something
And I
we're
said,
going to cover, I think, on one of those days, isn't it? I think, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I thought that was actually a really good conversation, because it was somewhat, it sort of just says that people, they just don't know, but they would like to do something. So I was going to think of something else too, but I've forgotten what it is. 50-year-old brains, not working as well.
Sorry, Michael, I interrupted there because it occurred to me and I didn't sort of put myself, I thought I was on mute actually. Sorry. There is something that we're doing, it's on the Saturday for World Childless Week, and it was about a webinar on, loosely based on a podcast, when I was a podcast guest, a guest on something called the Freelancers Tea Break, talking to people who are freelance, who mixed demographics, and lots of mums in there and lots of fathers as well, different genders. And it was about, the fact that not everybody freelances because they're a digital mother, and how people can bridge that gap. And that's one of the webinars that's coming up in World Childless Week on the Saturday, which is the Worthiness Day. So lots of stuff coming up. Any highlights that people need to look out for, Steph?
Gosh, I don't think there is, because if I said this is the one I think is the best, somebody else is going to know it's not, because this is where I am and this is what I want. So, what I consider to be a highlight is going to be different to everybody else's. And that's the good thing. But once the webinars are released, I think, there is something there for everybody, and there's definitely a good mixture in there.
Yeah, so. I know you're still planning all of those, and I know I've got to sort that out too, because I haven't yet. But oh yes, but yeah, there's lots of webinars and interactive events and recordings coming up for World Childless Week. Quite a lot of video going on this year, which is interesting to see, isn't it?
There's more webinars this year than we've ever had, I think. And we've got the fact we're going to have one on the Thursday for Men Matter 2, the first webinar for Men Matter 2 to take place ever. We've had recordings, we've not actually had a webinar. So that's really exciting. And that's like a really good marker as well for the 5th year. I was so happy when that was happening. I was like, yes, at least one webinar. Fantastic.
Some new voices as well, if I remember right.
Yeah.
There's a few people coming along who aren't ambassadors but are new voices who feel supported enough to share some of their stories. So it'd be nice to get some new faces and new voices in there too.
Oh, definitely. And I think, like you say, again, it's just a reflection that if people think they can't come to me and say, I'd like to do a webinar because we've never heard of them, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be heard. If you've got a voice and you want to get your voice out there and you're happy to show your face, then come to me and say, I've got an idea for a webinar. It fits under this topic. Can I do it? If we can get it organised, then we'll do it. It's as simple as that. You don't have to be somebody whose name is known. And I think that's a really big thing to do, like the submissions. You don't have to be known. And exactly the same with the webinars. If you've got an idea under one of the topics, you think, I really want to talk about it, come forward, contact me, and let's talk, because I don't turn away anybody. Do you know what I mean? Unless they come forward and say, I want to talk about how wonderful it was to be a parent, then obviously no, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, go away. But if you're childless, you've got a topic that I think we can use in the week, then we'll use it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Sorry I went AWOL. I was looking up my old I Am Me.
You looked before you did the new one.
No, couldn't remember for the life of me what I put on it. I put fun, but I didn't put fun. I put brave and all sorts. And I was looking through I was scrolling through my history, and funnily enough, around the time of World Childless Week, and I did a letter to my unborn child, was the time that I was setting up after the storm. So there was loads going on. So what I put in my I Am Me is very indicative of what was going on at that time. So it will be quite different. But yeah, sorry, I went AWOL.
No.
Just scrolling through, desperately trying to find it.
Yeah, Sarah, I went AWOL for an entire episode. It's okay.
So
you literally were 5 minutes.
I know. I was going to ask you, Steph. So obviously, World Childless Week, 5 years old, clearly changing and adapting, and it feels to me like it's getting bigger year on year. New voices, new directions. Where do you think you'd like to take it next, out of curiosity?
I've always had the dream of producing leaflets and posters, and I think that's becoming much more of a reality now. I've started a small group, and it's another Facebook group, another small group that's test running at the moment, and I've not gone large with it because of personal circumstance as well, where I'm asking people who want to be change makers to actually come into the group, and let's start talking about how we can mix together, how we can go into little groups and actually make those changes around the world to get the news out there about childlessness more. So it's not just relying on me and people like the ambassadors or yourself who have got work within the field already, but just people who want to say, actually, I just would like to contact this company or my company, or put up some posters in the library or at the doctor's. So it's starting to get people to come together to actually say, we can do this. But the more of us actually doing a little bit each is a lot easier than one person trying to do everything. So we're starting to do that, uniting as a team behind the scenes. And it's, like I said, slowly taking root, getting people in who know certain different aspects about getting the word out, about advertising, about PR, and actually saying, oh, we can do this. It might not be ready for this year's World Childless Week, but we're getting it in place. So going forward, it will always be there, and it can be updated, and it can be a package to be sent out to businesses and things like that. And also getting a resources page that's listing more about the actual research on childlessness on the website, so people can go there and get the correct statistics, or can have links to go somewhere else and find the information. And I think it's important to get a real solid base to World Childless Week that really backs up everything we're saying, that some people will go, oh no, that's just somebody who's moaning about their grief, and it's not really grief, because we all know it's disenfranchised. But they can actually go, actually, here's the statistics behind it, here's the facts, you know what I mean? So stuff to sort of the naysayers, we've got facts for the naysayers, and we've also got packages for the people who want to support us. So it's the behind bits sort of taking place now, more so than the front face. But the front face, again, I'd like to see more people come in who don't have a name in our community already and join in with things like webinars, so that we're showing you don't have to be a somebody, you can be an anybody, because we're all anybody. We all started out as anybody who's a nobody, who is somebody who's important. Do you know what I mean? We're all important, and that's the whole point. We all need to come in, if our names are known or not. So it's just widening the circle. Widening the circle. That's what we're doing, widening the circle all the time, hopefully.
Wow, I love your ambition. That's amazing.
Got to have ambition. I would be where would we be? You wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be here.
True. But thinking about, I mean, we talked about legacy. I mean, it's going to be huge, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like I say, it's all of us, all doing our small part.
Yeah.
And again, I want to reflect again, it's not about doing a big part. It could be just literally liking a post that makes that person smile for that day because somebody liked their post. You know, little steps, little moves forward, liking a post, move forwards. Continue on.
It's really important, isn't it?
Mm.
So apart from submissions, how else can people get involved in World Childless Week? Because you've got a few things like the survey going on, things like that. So when do they close, those sorts of things? Do you know?
They're all closing at the end of August.
Okay.
Basically, so that I can try and have a couple of weeks to get things sorted into some sort of sense to put it on the website. And I say that, and I hope that sometimes I do get submissions coming in past that day. And if I can accommodate them, I will do. But it is a case of trying to give myself time to put it all together. But yeah, the survey is important because, again, people like to see statistics. And when we hit large numbers of people saying yes or no to different questions, then it really gives us a foundation that people can't deny. So the survey's going on. Champion Noms is finishing. I Am Me, obviously, that's again up to the end of the month, and I hope we get more and more pictures. I don't care if they come in afterwards, they'll go on the gallery afterwards, they can be shown across the year. I think they need to be celebrated a lot more. But yeah, it's all on the website. If it's not a link from the homepage, go to the upcoming events, and they're all under there, individually listed.
Lovely. And that's www.worldchildlessweek.net for those that are listening as well, where you also find all your social media links, because you're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
Yes.
Lovely. Fantastic.
Wow. That's amazing. I didn't say very much, you will have noticed. I was just sitting listening. I was just like, flipping it, this is amazing. Just
Hopefully some of it makes sense and it works. Do you know what I mean? Because like you say, you waffle and you don't know. It's just me waffling. I always waffle.
You're such a good podcast guest. I have to say that you are incredibly articulate and you really know your stuff as well. I think any podcast would be very, very lucky to have you as their guest. I've been looking forward to talking to you with Michael and Sarah since we set it up and we knew that you were coming along.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you here on your own and kind of, claiming World Childless Week, because it is very much your creation. Us ambassadors do our bit to help you and support you, but you are such a driving force behind all of this that I think that needs to be honoured as well. It wouldn't have done 5 years without your idea at the beginning and your drive to see it through and the ambition that you have for the future. It's absolutely incredible. I know how much work it is for you, and I just admire you hugely for that, because I think there's an awful lot of effort goes into that emotionally, and also I want to also just say that Steph actually is probably my best client in terms of Squarespace and the website, because she just I hear nothing from her and go into the website and you've updated it and done this, done that, and I just like well, my training can't be that shoddy. It's always quite useful because the aim of my training when I hand over a WordPress site or a Squarespace site is to always go like, here's your site. Now that you know it's this good, but you don't actually need me, but only for the big stuff. And it never really always happens like that. But then I always think, oh, well, there's always Steph. Steph got it.
I don't know. I'm a geek. I like to learn things. When somebody tells me I like to learn, whatever it is, I've had plasterers come to the house and I watch them because I like to learn. I'm very visual.
Plastering is one of those things that I really feel that I need to learn. It's like a life skill that I think would save me an absolute bloody fortune and elevate my house to something quite amazing that would stun people on Rightmove at the appropriate time. I just need to learn to plaster. Yeah.
I can't say I've actually ever done any, but you know what I mean?
No, I haven't. No, but I'm quite, I got really interested in tree shredding the other day because we had our ash tree cut back a little bit, and oh my god, it looks so satisfying. I'm like, oh, quite like the idea of that. Anyway, thank you, Steph.
Do we have any stats for last year? I'm just thinking maybe we open the podcast with something like 5 years, 25,000. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Is that easily accessible? Because I know Sarah needs to go pretty soon.
I'm just trying to think. I have got it, but I know it's like 97 countries reached, 111,000 page views last year across the year.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the other stuff in front of me. Let me have a look, see if I've got it anywhere.
I'm just going into your website at the minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably can get it quicker than I can. I'm just trying to think what I've got.
Give me 1 second. Traffic, site content, that's always a good one. Last year. The most popular content from last year was, oh, hang on, sorry. You had to cut that bit because the microphone would have picked up Kenny walking around. We wait for him to go.
We had 53,500 visits in 2020.
Your most popular content.
1,000 unique visitors and then 112 page views.
Yeah, and your most popular content was Dear Rabbis and other well-meaning Jews. Our stories, and people accessed the support groups. There was about 4,000 people accessed all the support groups.
That's important.
Yeah, it was. A Meaningful Life Without Children was incredibly popular, as was I Wish Someone Would Ask Me.
Yeah.
Comments That Hurt is also very important too. So yeah, there was quite a lot. And in fact, actually what was interesting on the statistics from last year is that a lot of people went back to 2017, interestingly. So people are going back through previous years and reading old content too. So I think that's something probably quite important to mention, is that just because you submitted this year, it's not just a this year view. Just exactly as we're saying with the podcast, we go back and people are listening to episodes from right back at the very, very beginning. Our very first episodes are actually probably still one of the most popular ones as well. So it's there, and it's your digital footprint, if you like, or again, your legacy, if you want.
Mm.
Okay, I'll chop all that up and I'll put that at the beginning, so it's sort of, gives us like a starts on a big positive.
Yeah, I think the fact we reached 97 countries is amazing.
That's huge.
To think that we, it's all in English. As much as we'd like to be diverse and show all different languages, it's just in English, and we've reached 97 countries last year. And yeah, I think that's mind-blowing. I don't care if it's just one person in that country, they might talk to one other person, so that doubles up. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like I say, it's continually growing. I just think, wow.
I wonder if you've got anyone from San Marino.
San Marino top trump.
Oh.
The reason I say that, Steph, is because we've on the podcast is listened to by someone in San Marino, and I just have really good memories of going there, finding it, exploring it with Vicky and my mum. Actually, we took her to Italy, and so it just really tickles me that we've got someone in San Marino.
Something, I'm gonna have to go and have a look later today, and I'll let you know.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, we'd like to say hello to our listener in San Marino. I'd always love that with our podcast, and we go in and we look at the statistics of, so just to clarify to people who might think we go in and we know who people are, it's all anonymous. We don't know who you are. We just have a list of countries, and it just tells us where people are listening from. So we have listeners in Nepal, San Marino, Luxembourg, Kuwait, Cambodia. Anyway, we could go on forever, couldn't we? It's very interesting.
I just want to say to that person in San Marino, if you're not yet looking at World Childless Week, could you please go along to www.worldchildlessweek.net, and I can add you to my countries as well.
It's going really worldwide. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the amazing thing, isn't it? That a lot of the initiatives we do, and it's digital, means that actually it can be accessed all over the place as well, all over the world. When people have that connections, it's really lovely. So thank you so very much, Steph, for joining us today.
You're welcome, and I really appreciate you having me on again. It's been lovely. Always is. Thank you.
Well, it's good to see you, Steph.
And you.
I should stop.
Can't wait to get to bloody England.
We can't wait to see you in England.
Sarah and I are still doing road tripping. We think, yep. There's a nod there.
Yeah, of course.
Oh dear. Thanks, Steph. Good to see you.
You're welcome.
Sarah, for some reason your sound has gone.